Everybody hear me okay? All right, we're gonna get this rolling so we can kind of keep it around 2 hours. I know a lot of you know who I am. My name's Scott Danelski. And my role tonight is like a quasi moderator. So my role is to keep it moving and keep on task. And so everybody that would like to speak gets an opportunity to speak and ask questions. We have a few decorum rules here I'm going to go over. We're going to try to keep the length to approximately 2 hours. That might be tough, but we want respectful communication. No cat calls, cursing, insults, booing, shouting, etc. Try to limit your speaking to approximately 2.5 to 3 minutes so we can answer questions or our guest speakers can answer. Raise your hand to speak, but I would also say that if you want to come up and talk, you're going to have to come up here so everybody can talk into the mic. We are recording this so that we can take some minutes and stuff off that. We want to be everybody to be able to hear what the comments are. Speak clearly into the microphone. This meeting agenda is strictly for sharing ideas about the 3 main topics that was advertised: zoning, the town hall, and road maintenance. We have time. And I just wanted to let everybody know this is not a grievance meeting. If you have grievances, you will have to take that up with the board because this is not a board meeting. This is just a public forum for people to talk about. Other housekeeping, the ladies' room is over here. There's a water fountain. The men's room was over there. This is our first go around with a meeting like this, so bear with us. It's a learning curve for me too, and there's probably going to be some bumps. And the first one is one of our guest presenters is not going to be here tonight, but they did provide their PowerPoint, and I will put it up on the screen and read through it, but I'm no subject matter expert with it. It was the Pine County and their zoning. Those questions will have to be addressed to Pine County. Now, if you do not want to talk, we have cards over there. You can put, and just raise your hand, and Dan over there will hand them out in a pen, and you can write down your questions, and we can send them off to people. Like, say you want to address something to the board, the current board, or we can pass that on to them, or something to the county. And we will be doing like some minutes on this, where we'll post it online on the Facebook pages so people can kind of read what we talked about. So, like I said, this meeting is intended to provide information, exchange viewpoints and ideas regarding some topics important to the Windemere Township. We hope the community members will perhaps gain some insights to these topics, as well as having a forum to share their concerns and ideas. Insights gained this evening will be shared with the current Township Board, as well as the new board for their consideration, as merely an exchange of information. The purpose of the meeting or its guest presenters is not to endorse or criticize any public official, candidate, policy, but rather to provide a forum for exchange of information. One other thing I want to add before we get into our guest presenters is there's going to be 2 ballot questions on the November ballot. And they're yes and no questions. And the first one is option A, and then it's shall Windemere Township move to a 5-member board? Yes or no? If the electorate vote no, it stays pat and we stay with only 3 board members. If it passes and the electorate say yes, we want a 5-member board, then the new incoming board can either hold the election at the next township election, which wouldn't be until November of 2028, but there's also 4 other special elections that are by statute in the state. One is in February, one is in April, June, and August. So there's 5 opportunities. So if the new board would like to have a special election in the year to fill those seats, they have the opportunity to do that. The second question is, shall we appoint the clerk treasurer position? That was a question that was on the ballot last November 2024. It was a 2-part question. The first part passed, which was, shall we combine the clerk and treasurer, which we did. And then the second part was, shall the board appoint? Well, that one failed, and that question is going to be on the ballot again. Once again, it's going to be a yes/no question, and if it's a no, then it stays pat the way it is. Whoever gets elected fills that seat. If it's yes, then the board would post, higher on credentials, it'd be an employee position. So, and after that, once that's done here, I am going to go into zoning, but I'm going to introduce other two guest speakers. We got Noah Cashman is the vice chair of the Lakes Association, and Byron Kooster is with the Moose Lake Windemere Township Sanitary Sewer District. And they'll both be giving brief presentations and be able to ask questions on that. So bear with me here. And this is going to be small on the screen, so I'll probably end up reading it. Uh-oh. First technical difficulty. Okay, bear with me because I'm reading this for the first time too. Where is your mouse? There we go. So this PowerPoint was put together by Kelly Schroeder. She is the Pine County Administrator. And Pine County acknowledges that townships and cities have traditionally managed their own land use regulations to maintain local control. At the same time, the county recognizes that administering land use at a broader level can create efficiencies in some jurisdictions that lack the resources needed for effectively implement their own regulations. In response, the following several years of comprehensive planning and ordinance development, Pine County has adopted a county zoning ordinance in 2020 that includes an opt-in provision. Under this approach, county zoning and the associated zoning map applies only when township board or city council passes a resolution to opt in. So they have a county-wide ordinance, and they put a clause in there that if we so choose, we could opt in. County zoning opt-in process. The city or township passes a resolution to opt in. The county zoning board reviews it. The county zoning board reviews proposed zoning map, makes suggested changes based on comp plan, recommended approval of the county board. The county works with the city township on transition and beginning of permitting. County staff work with the city township to develop zoning map. County zoning districts are used, match previous zoning districts to the county districts if possible and where it makes sense. And then the county board public hearing has to go to approval. So county zoning district options. This is the shoreland applies to all districts. Zoning districts determined allowed and allowable and conditional use permit uses. So Ag 2 equals 2 parcels per 40, Ag 4, and I'm no subject matter expert on this, so if you have questions on this, they will have to be written down and we will forward them on to the county and they will get responses for you. Ag 4 equals 4 parcels per 40, and this is for subdevelopment, I believe. 2.5 acre minimum. Our rural residential is a 5 acre minimum. Rural residential 10 is a 10 acre minimum, and rural residential 20 is a 20 acre minimum. For rural town site, R20, 0.5 is a 0.5 acre minimum. RT1 is 1. And this is where the zoning map that she was talking about, they will help set up the zoning map so you know where you fall in one of these areas. And R2.5 is a 2.5 acre minimum. Commercial is a 1 acre minimum, and industrial is a 1 acre minimum. Special uses with performance standards. There's applies to salvage yards, second residence, temporary health care dwelling, manufactured mobile home parks, extractive use, communication towns, solid waste disposal sites, feedlots, commercial solar energy production, commercial and non-commercial wind energy conversion, and short-term rentals. County shoreline ordinance. It applies to all lands within 1,000 feet of a lake or 300 feet from a river. That's the high water mark on that water. A state required minimum in all respects except general development lake lot size requirements are larger than required. 150 versus 100 feet. So 40,000 square feet versus 20,000 square feet for single lots. So that's if you wanted to add a building or whatever. General development lakes are First Lake, Kettle River Township, Bokegama Lake, and Cross Lake. Short-term rental permitting requirements. The state has no requirements for permitting short-term rentals. And I believe, my memory serves me right, they don't have a short-term rental in their zoning ordinance. Costs. This is a big thing everybody's asking. No billing to the city or township by the county. Currently, 8 jurisdictions have not required us to add staff due to their small sizes. City of Finlayson in process. Additional jurisdictions have simply helped offset existing costs due to increased permit revenues. A larger jurisdiction may require us to add 1 or more additional staff members. The cost of the additional staff member would be spread out amongst the taxpayers in the county, not the specific city or township. So that's the question I asked right away. It's like, okay, how much is this going to cost? And she said, well, if we have to hire 2 people. And I said, well, that's going to be an expense. And she goes, no, you're not thinking about it. You got to think about it globally. Everybody in the county gets assessed a little bit to pay for the extra zoning officer. So I said, well, what does that equate to $.cents? And she goes, it's under $1, like 84 cents. So that's the additional cost of going to Pine County zoning per Kelly. Cost of salary benefits approximately $81,458. Additional permit revenue is $10,000. Net impact of the property tax levy is $71,458. And once again, that gets spread out amongst every taxpayer in the county. Pine County tax capacity is $54,236,000 and change, and tax impact on different values. So here's where she's talking about it. So if you had a $300,000 evaluated property, residential seasonal, it's an additional $461. So I misspoke. If it's commercial, it's $8.23. If you have a $500,000 home, your cost for residential seasonal will be an additional $6.58 on your tax levy. Commercial will be $12.19. And if you're $750,000, $10.71 for residential, $18.71 for a commercial property. So the burden for us as taxpayers is not that heavy. Let me see what this graphs. Permit turnaround times. The average days to approve permit. So septic permits, it says here it's about 12 days. This is in 2023, and she has a graph. And then building permits were, looks like 19 days for building permits. In 2024, the septic permits looks like it dropped down to 11 days to get your turnaround. Building permits dropped down to like 7. In 2025, septic permit approvals looks like it's about 7 days, and building permits have risen back up to 11. So what did you say? The average day to approve permit includes those that have had corrections to the original plans design in the office. So I think what that caveat says at the bottom, that if you don't have a change, it could be faster. But this is an average overall with people that have had amendments to their permits. And that's the end of her slideshow. And like I said, if you have questions, please raise your hand and we can hand out cards specifically to zoning, and we'll make sure that Kelly and the zoning administrator in Pine County get them. I think you should probably maybe put on your name and maybe your email address so that you can respond to an email to you, or the zoning can respond to the email, and we will make sure that those get forwarded on. And we can keep them confidential except for the county seeing them. Go ahead, June.
The township board put in zoning requirements for Windemere. If we switched to having the county do the zoning, would our requirements go back to the county rules, or would we still be stuck with the Windemere rules?
So, as far as I know, if we opt in,
What's the question?
oh, so the question was, why don't you come over here, Jude, and say it again?
I said that the Windemere Board has put in some strict rules regarding zoning and a lot of changes, and I was wondering if we move to having our zoning done by the county, if we would revert back to just the county rules, because some of the county rules are more forgiving than what the Windemere Board put through.
So what I know about that, townships zoning can be more restrictive than the county and state requirements. Not less restrictive, it can't be less restrictive. So our current zoning ordinance that just got passed, like the slide I brought up that said like 2.5 acres per subdivision, that's what the state and the county have used. That's the minimum that they could be. Windemere, I think we're double. I think we're 5 acres for a subdivision. So if the town board and the township wants to opt out or opt into the Pine County, our zoning ordinance would have to get dissolved. And then we would adopt their zoning ordinance, which is about half as restrictive as what we currently have, as far as what I know and what I've heard. Now, I'm not the subject matter expert. Is anybody from the Planning Commission here that can speak up on our zoning ordinance? No, so I'm just going by what I've heard in meetings and discussions I've heard. Any other questions that maybe we could answer about zoning? Like I said, I'm not the subject matter expert on it, and I know there's probably a lot of questions. But the main things that I heard was the cost. And I don't know what our current cost with our zoning department is. It's been,
Doesn't it come out of the levy?
yes,
So there would be no extra charge?
there would be no extra charge. So right now, what we pay for zoning under a township covering the ordinance or enforcing the ordinance, it comes out of our levy. And our current levy this fiscal year, calendar year, is $400,000. Next year we voted to go to $500,000. But I believe last time I saw with the financials, we were over $100,000 with just zoning alone. And then there were some other legal fees too, so it could push $200,000 this year zoning between legal action and our zoning. Because right now, our zoning is, we don't have an employee. We contract that out through WSB. And there's 2 employees. I think one's hourly rate is $200 an hour.
Just over 100.
Huh?
Just over 100.
Just over 100, and the other one's more. 300. Yeah. So our zoning right now is quite expensive. And it takes up, it's already taken up a quarter of our levy. And then we use another quarter of the levy just for our fire contract. So that leaves us $200,000 for the rest of everything else. Sorry, I don't have any more information, but like I said, if you want to me pass on questions to Kelly Schroeder, I'd gladly do that for you. And if you want a copy of the PowerPoint, just come see me after and I get you a copy of the PowerPoint.
I'm sorry, who did you say Kelly is?
Kelly Schroeder is the Pine County Administrator. And then the zoning administrator down there, his name is Aaron Gustafson.
Who's our zoning?
It's a contractor, WSB. And there are the,
But there's somebody you can email on the website.
yes, so she's asking who our current zoning administrator is, or we don't have an actual employee. We have a contractor, and it's WSB. And is there information on the website? Yes, their information is on the website that you can contact our zoning well, I would call it administrator, but the people that enforce or implement our zoning is WSB.
Because I've sent an email to the zoning administrator, the email that's on the website, and I've gotten a reply. So who's that person?
Grace.
The primary contact person is Grace Lilliquist of WSB, and then there's a secondary fallback person. Kim.
Okay, she asked who the contact person was for our zoning at WSB, and it's Grace Lindquist? Lilliquist. And it's on the township website. Their contact information can be found on there.
Are they prepared to get questions from this group by email?
They're always open to ask. Yeah, okay. She's asking if our zoning department people would be willing to respond to questions. And that's why their contact information is there for people to contact them. If you do have a question, they should respond to you.
Does it cost $200 an hour to ask them a question?
Yeah, she asked us if it costs $200 an hour to answer a question. Well, Grace, I think hers is $100 an hour. But it costs us $100 an hour for her to respond to you.
Who's free to ask questions?
The board, the planning commission, and the board.
The planning commission is more, but not like the Pine County administrator?
Oh, Pine County, if you have questions for Pine County, and you're a Pine County resident, should respond to you. And I know Kelly, she will respond to you.
So is she willing to put her email out there for people that have questions?
Her email is on the Pine County website. Yep, and you can so she asked if Kelly would be willing to answer questions, and she told me she would, and her email address is on the Pine County website.
Or is it better to run it through?
No,
somebody here?
if you want to go, she asked if it's better to run through us, and it's just like, we will forward it on to her if people don't want to go that route.
Okay.
But if you want to contact her directly, then just email her to the county, and she will get back to you. Any other questions?
Our township don't have a overly big abundance of money. Why are we spending that kind of money for an outside? Why are we spending that kind of money for an outside contractor? Wouldn't it be better to do it in-house, economic-wise?
You're saying, why are we spending that much money?
Yes.
Well, I'm not on the board, and but they decided to go to a contractor for the zoning permits.
Okay, so when people have questions and call in, that's costing the township $100 or $300 an hour?
100 for Grace, and if she needs help, it's the other lady's $300 an hour.
The township wants to do it in-house.
That is the in-house cost.
No, but an employee.
An employee,
Yeah.
in the past, we have I think it was like $25 an hour that they were working or doing in-house zoning.
Wouldn't that be better?
That's a question for the board. Thanks, Kate.
Hi, my name is Mike Huston. I'm a new owner on the lake. I just met with the county people this morning. And what's the cost of a variance from the Windemere versus the county? Okay.
That information can be found on our township website. Like I said, I'm not part of the planning commission or on the board, but I can steer you to the township website, and I believe that information is on there.
Are they giving out variances?
You'd have to go to the Board of Adjustment, and there's a cost involved with that, and I've applied for a variance before, and it's a crapshoot whether you get it or not. But with this ordinance, I have no idea. That's a question for,
Who do you go to then, Windermere, or do you go to the county?
right now, Windemere is enforcing our zoning, or doing the zoning.
That's how much an hour?
$100 an hour for the, and $300 an hour for the other gal.
And then who keeps,
Or $200 an hour. Somebody just looked it up. So it's 100 or 200 for those two contract employees.
how's that time, how do they figure out the time? I don't get that. They just can't give you a yes or no, or they have to work on it for hours, or I don't understand that.
I don't know how they do their billing, but if you email them or call them and respond back to you, there's a charge to the township for that. Because I know there's invoices that come in every month from WSB. Can you speak
What
in?
happens when it gets over the cost?
I'm not the person, yes, I'm not on the Board of Adjustments, I'm not on the Planning Commission, I'm not on the board. Huh?
I'm gonna need a variance.
So then you would probably need to go to the township website, because that's who currently does their zoning, and see what their costs are, and I believe they're setting up, you have to set up an escrow account, and put money in that escrow account.
2,000 on the escrow.
2,000 in the escrow account,
$750 for the variance.
how much?
$750.
And 750 for the variance. But all this information is on the township website, and it'll give you the instructions on where it's gonna go, and who's gonna do, and who we're responding to. I'm sorry, I wish I had more information, but my role here today is just to kind of keep the meeting moving, so I'm gonna direct you to the township. Any other questions?
So I just wanted to add that some of the revenue is cut to offset the costs of the WSB.
Right.
WSB is through the variances and the applications.
So what I know with the WSB, that's the money that's set aside in the escrow, and then the permit fee or the variance fee is revenue connected by the township to help offset those other additional costs to the township from WSB. Oh, she got to push the button.
I was just at the last planning commission just this week, and basically, from what I understand, if we would go to Pine County, everything is less restrictive. Everything. And they even had the DNR there. It's cheaper and it's less restrictive. And they had the DNR there, and he's, like with the trailer thing, a lot of people want to know about that. He's like, why are you doing this? He said, we don't do that in Pine County, you know? And he basically, he basically, you know, said they don't care. The DNR doesn't care. They don't have these rules in Pine County.
I do know that our zoning ordinance currently is more restrictive,
Yes.
and we have that and I'm staying moderate here. No, I understand, I hear what you're saying.
Basically, if they looked at our new zoning for Windemere, everything in Pine County is less restrictive.
Less restrictive, about half.
Right.
So, you are correct with that. Any other questions? Oh, okay. Hold it close to your mouth, too.
I know you had a thing up there saying how to opt into the county, and I might have already forgot. But is it the township board that does the opting, or does it come from the people?
It comes from the township board.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, but here's the thing, that's why this is the first time we're holding a meeting like this. We want people to have a voice and hear what the people want. Because the current board was gonna get what information is gathered tonight and given to them, whether they choose to do anything with it or not. But there's another board coming in the first week of January, and there's opportunity to listen to what the people want and make a change.
Just to clarify, the new board, there is one board member up for term for reelection, is that right? Two are up for reelection, okay. Can you explain further what that looks like?
So I went to this is public information. You can go to the Secretary of State website and look up Windemere Township who filed. And there's two board positions, position A. There's one individual that applied for that, he's running unopposed. And then for the other position, there is 2 people running for that position. And then I filed, and I'm going to run for the clerk treasurer. And I'll just say that out loud because it's public information. Yep. Okay, so position A is held by Ellen Overland, who's currently our chair, and position C is held by Tony Bakhtiari, and neither of those 2 people filed to run again. And then Heidi Cronin was elected in 2024, so she'll be up for election in 2028. And then there might be some reshuffling. It depends on that ballot question. If the electorate, if people want to go to a 5-person board, then there'll have to be some reshuffling, so there's never more than 2 people on the ballot, or never more than 3 on the ballot at one time. There'd be like 3 and 1, because we have our township elections every 2 years on even years. Coincides like with the president's 20, like this year, then 2028, 30, so. I can't reach Wendy, sorry.
That's okay, Scott, I can just stand up and talk. Why, how do we get the planning commission, I mean, can they come up for a public vote in Windemere Township to get rid of our planning commission right now? How do we do that?
Those positions are appointed, and they're appointed by the board. And with the opt-in, say that the new board wants to opt into Pine County, then they already have a planning commission. And I've heard comments that if Windemere was to opt in, they might even allow us to have a person on that board, on the planning commission board. And so say Windemere opted in, then the current board could dissolve the zoning ordinance, dissolve the planning commission, dissolve the board of adjustments as cost savings, and we'd opt in with Pine County. And then that little chart I was showing you with the cost, that's what you'd be levied for that.
I was paid for that. Get rid of WSB.
So, I mean, I went around, talked to a lot of people signing that petition, and that was the number one concern was the cost with our zoning and how restrictive it is.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't have any say in that, but, so, that's why we're having this meeting, so we get to hear from you and the new board members, you know, hopefully they listen.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Okay, right there.
Scott?
Yeah.
Can you pull up that Pine County thing you had again?
Yeah. Which one, the zoning areas?
Yes, the zoning where it talks about the 20,000 versus 40,000.
Yep.
And the 100 versus 150.
I can get you that PowerPoint too if you would like.
Well, here's my concern is, first of all, I'm not a big fan of more government, and Pine County has been somewhat uncooperative in some areas. But on that point alone, most of the lake lots are 20,000 or less. A lot of the lots are anywhere from 42 feet to 100 wide by 200, so that's 20,000. According to what you had up there earlier, those wouldn't be up for consideration for any type of variance or such.
No, so.
And then the 150 frontage, most of our lakes are at 100 or less.
I hear that. So there's the tricky part where I was saying it's a crapshoot. So with Pine County, I kind of heard just this last week that if you were in that shoreland ordinance and you were going for a variance to show your hardship, it would probably be very hard to get your variance. And
I can attest to that.
he said he can attest to that. So either way, if you're with the township or with zoning, and you're gonna have to get a variance, and you're in that shoreland ordinance, and that's one thing too that I wanna clarify. So Pine County only would be zoning over the shoreland area. Outside that 1,000 feet, Windemere would still have jurisdiction, I believe. If somebody speak up if I'm wrong.
But I mean, for the consideration is most of the people on shoreland, houses on the lake and that would now be unable or unable to add on and improve because most of them don't have 150 feet or the 40,000 square feet. Where if we stay in-house, maybe we don't stay with WSP, but we go back to the local, somebody I was zoning for a period of time, Terry was zoning for a period of time. We averaged anywhere from $12,000 to $25,000 a year. With that, what takes Jessica for one of my neighbors was a 6-hour bill, so $600. I could have walked next door, charged 15 minutes, $5-8. Maybe I'm not your best candidate, but there are people in this area for zoning that would be willing to do it. I'll stop by after work, this or that. I'm not in favor of WSP, but I'm also not in favor of going with the county with the 150 width. I have 150, my neighbors don't, they all are at 100. And when you measure them out, most of them aren't the 200, so they're closer to 18 to 20,000. So if we go with the county, be sure that there's going to be a lot of building on shoreline that's not going to happen.
It's not gonna happen. If you have to apply for variances, that's what Scott was saying. He knows better than anybody. He was a former zoning administrator. And what he's saying is that in-house, you know, and I believe that our zoning people should have got paid more because it's some work that needs to get done. But it doesn't cost as much as WSB, but we still have to be as restrictive as this Pine County ordinance in the zone, in the shoreland area. No ifs, ands, or buts, that's why ours changed. So we still, even if we kept it in-house, we still couldn't be less restrictive than this county ordinance.
But that also varies from the DNR rules. Pine County's does.
I can't answer, that's a question that we'll have to field to Kelly.
Scott?
Oh.
My name's Noah Cashman with both Pine County and the township. By state law, are required to include a provision on what's called legal non-conforming lots and legal non-conforming uses. And so it gets very complicated. It's not just a 100 or a 150 foot question. For example, now with the township, one of the big issues I think that most people don't think about until they've got in front of the Board of Adjustment is, for example, impervious surface coverage, which I believe is more restrictive than Pine County. Also, I believe with the township ordinance, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but they exclude unbuildable area. So if you're on a lake with a hill, all your lot with the hill isn't included in the impervious surface coverage. So there's all kinds of issues, but by state law, the local municipality, whether it's county or the state, has to protect those legal non-conforming lots, and there's a process. So,
Scott, we were just able to get, we're going to be able to build on a 93 foot lakefront on that property because we're in Fire One.
Are you asking? Oh.
No, I'm just
Oh.
telling him.
Yeah, unless you have to speak in the mic, we can't hear it.
So, sorry, a little out there. So what I'm saying is that we're going to be able to build on a 93-foot lakefront without an issue as long as we fit in the zoning of 15 feet on either side, which we found a footprint we can do. But we're non-conforming in R1, and I think you need to find out what Pine County does in that situation.
But that allowance was through the township.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
Any other questions that maybe we can entertain on zoning? Like I said, there's a lot of research that's going to have to go into this, and this is just the first of baby steps to get people's public input on what the flavor is with what we have and what we can do and whatnot. Any other comments? Oh, Kate.
My name is Jim Langenbrunner, and my question relates to board's ability to completely eliminate what has been adopted by our current zoning, go at Pine County, and then, what is the process for that? Do the citizens have a petition they're going to present to the new board?
No, there is no process with the citizens, so the board or the new board, it's what their call is going to be. And whether they want to stay with it, hire somebody in-house again, or go with Pine County. But this is the reason we're having this meeting, so I see all 3 board member candidates in the audience tonight, so they're listening. So that's why we're having these meetings, so they can understand the problems or the issues that people are having. We want to give people a voice, whether you can vote in the November election or if you're a seasonal owner, because seasonal owners don't get to vote in the election for the board members. But we want to hear from everybody so that we know what the township would like to do going forward. So this is an opportunity for the people to have a voice in a forum that they probably wouldn't have anywhere place else. This is all about exchanging ideas, listening, coming up with ideas and suggestions. Any other questions? All right, who wants to go next? Oh, sorry.
I'm Ed Rosenbaum. I'm from Crow Wing County, but I have land here. But I'm just wondering, why was Windemere more restricted to begin with? I think we have to consider that question. Were people concerned about encroachment or other things? That's all.
What was brought up at the planning commission meetings was that townships can be more restrictive, and they were worried about the water quality and the sewer and stuff. But the next 2 presenters here are going to do a little explanation about our water quality and our sewer. So that was one of the main reasons why they wanted the more restrictive. That's what they said at their meetings anyway.
And if I can pipe in, I think the township would say that there was a lawsuit involving Sand Lake Resort, and there was a settlement with the DNR and Sand Lake Resort, and that was the impetus. The township board moved to, there was a draft ordinance, there was an election, the draft ordinance was not adopted, new people were put on the planning commission, and they came up with a new ordinance which was passed, and then there was a couple more lawsuits, and then an interim ordinance was passed suspending the zoning ordinance, and I believe then there was a second interim ordinance passed continuing it. I might be wrong about that one, but and now the new ordinance and WSB are in place. So that's a 10,000 foot view.
Yeah, and then there was some other like language questions or clarification that were coming up that just was at the last planning commission.
But as far as why they made it more restrictive, that's, I think, a question for the people who voted for it. So, I don't know. I can't speculate.
Mike again. I have a question about taxation and people that own property. Why is there a difference between mailbox owners and people that have land that pay taxes? Why can't they vote? Let's pass a resolution so everybody gets a vote, especially the ones that pay the taxes.
So this is a question. You can only homestead one place, so you're only allowed to vote in one district. So
everybody puts into the kitty.
I know they do, and it's for seasonal people. It's.
But there is no difference. We pay more.
You pay the lion's share of our taxes. I'm going to say you pay between 60.
Let's get something passed so we can have a vote.
That's something that would have to go to the Secretary of State. That's way above, it's federal. But here's something I'm just gonna say out loud. I know people that were in your situation that wanted to have a vote. They registered to vote in Windemere Township so they could vote in this district for this township. Then you can't vote where your permanent residence is. You're saying that you can only have your homestead in one spot, in one location to vote. And I'm telling you that people have told me that they changed their residency so they could vote in our elections to Windemere.
Let's get to the Secretary of State and get it changed.
Go for it.
That could happen.
That could happen.
Right, the Secretary of State, but that would involve some, that would be some, I don't think.
Who's your legislature? Write them a letter or an email. You gotta start somewhere. Any more zoning? Okay, we're gonna move on to Noah Cashman, who is the vice chair of the Lakes Association.
Good evening, my name is Noah A. Cashman. I'm the vice chair of the Windemere Township Lakes Association. We refer to ourselves as WTLA, or the Lakes Association. We're not part of the township, even though it's part of our name. We're not a branch of the government. We're a nonprofit 501c3 organization here in Windemere Township. And we've been here since 1971, working on behalf of the citizens of Windemere Township. And we have approximately 350 members. Most of those are lakeshore owners, or they own sites on a river. But however, we also have a number of members who are they don't own lakeshore, but they've joined our organization, and we are open to everybody. We have lakeshore owners and non-lakeshore owners. We have corporate memberships, and this kind of touches on what the gentleman was saying in the back about a voice in how things run in the township. So we are a nonprofit organization that does give voice to people who may not be residents of Windemere Township, but they own property here, and we can speak for them and assist anybody who needs information on navigating some of the issues in Windemere Township. What is our purpose? Our purpose, as it's stated on our website, is to protect and improve the quality of the lakes, the property values of all, and the natural recreational facilities of Windemere Township. So we don't limit ourselves to helping just members, although we have approximately 350. What do we do? The largest part of what we do currently is to address issues affecting our lakes and rivers. And lately, the last 5 to 10 years, that has been focused on invasive species such as Eurasian milfoil, purple loosestrife. You know, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the purple flowers in the ditch. Well, they are an invasive species. Now, curly leaf pondweed, which has been found in Island Lake, and other invasive species. We're also acting to prevent other invasive species from coming into our lakes and rivers. And the two big ones right now would be zebra mussels, and we've been really fortunate because of the efforts of a lot of people. We don't have zebra mussels in our lakes yet. Also spiny water flea. I don't know if any of you have ever been up to Rainy Lake or some of the other lakes. It was really kind of nasty thing. We're fortunate we don't have that, but people like Chip Wells, who I see sitting here, and other Lake Association members, including ourselves, we monitor for that. You might see us out on the lake in the middle of the night this summer looking for spiny water fleas. So, but primarily, we are the conduit for grant money that comes from the state and county for protecting the lakes and rivers against invasive species. And so a lot of people say, well, the Lake Association, why should I join? You guys don't do anything. I can tell you that if our volunteers, and I think about Lauren Radke, who does a lot of the invasive species stuff, if we weren't there, the money is there, but you have to have a local community that's willing to do the work, to do surveys, prepare the grants, asking the money, manage the money responsibly, and get out there with the DNR and help them. And that's what we do. And actually, we have a meeting coming up this Saturday, and our invasive species specialist, Richard Brzezinka, is going to come, speaks in August. And he will tell you that if it wasn't for the Lakes Association bringing in the grant money and doing the hard work out there on the lakes, that Sturgeon Island and sand would probably be so choked with milfoil you couldn't even get out of your dock or out of the public access. So it's a lot of volunteer hours, it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of scrambling around. It's a lot of hard work by the members too. So for example, I believe it was 2 years ago, Sturgeon Lake went from something like, I think it was 7 acres of milfoil, and also it jumped up to, I think it was close to 20. And the membership chipped in, I believe it was approximately, I think it was $60,000 or $70,000 to get the work done. And so that's what we do. It's hard work, and I think everybody knows that the lakes are a primary economic driver here in the township, and they make life better for all of us. We also do work on other issues. We have a crew that cleans along the roads. We have worked, secondly, we have worked on water management issues. We did, a group of us did a high water study on Sturgeon Lake when a lot of people were getting flooded out, and went as far as appearing in front of some public bodies. We got the DNR and some people up here, and they looked at some things. Third, we also have done a lot of work on water quality issues affecting our township waters. That includes a water quality study that was done on Island Lake a couple of years ago. And fourth, we also, through the hard work of several volunteers, work on the township brush pile out by the airport. And that would not be there if it wasn't manned on certain Saturdays during the summer. And actually, some members have volunteered, brought their tractors over there and pushed up the brush pile. So who do we work with? We work with the state DNR. We work with the county. We work with the township. And we work with the citizens of Windemere Township. And a lot of times this occurs because people will call us up who maybe aren't members, or they are, but they say they've got an issue with a bunch of brush in their ditch, or they've got who can they talk to about some beavers are damming up some water? Who do they talk to about that? So we are an educational organization. We provide the information. We can't advocate because we're a 501c3, but we will do everything, and we have a lot of expertise to help you. So why am I here representing the Windemere Township Lakes Association? Well, the Windemere Township Lakes Association was originally organized, the name of it was the Windemere Lakes and Land Association. So we work for everybody. We're a group of volunteers who put in a lot of hours working for issues for you. And as you can see, those issues are a lot of the ones that we've been touching on, both in the presentation about the ordinance, the zoning ordinance, but also on roads. We work a lot with the roads and water management. We have people calling who have plugged up culverts and stuff like that. So we can't advocate, but we have a lot of information that we can provide to you. And as our original name suggested, we worked for not just lakeshore owners, but everybody. So to be a member, you don't have to own Lakeshore. You just have to be up here and want to be a member. When you look at this, the lakes, as I said, they draw in hundreds of thousands of dollars that otherwise would not be here through tourists, and people are coming up and spending the money. That creates jobs. It elevates your property values and lowers your tax burden because it's spread out, and a lot of money is generated from people with Lakeshore and who are members of the Lakeshore Association. We manage tens of thousands of dollars in grant money that is spent here locally in cleaning up the lakes. And finally, we're non-political. We have 350 different voices. Everybody has a different opinion. And we want to hear ideas and concerns. And that's why I'm here, and I wanted to be here, and we wanted to be here because we want to hear what's of concern to the township. And we worked some with the ordinance. I and other members of the Lake Association provided input to the township on the zoning ordinance as best as we could, and sometimes we were listened to and sometimes we weren't. That's the democratic process. And the final thing I'd say about the zoning ordinance, a lot of the discussion around that is, I used to be on a town board, and I've done some zoning and whatnot, but it's really difficult. And the one thing I hope everybody remembers as we move forward is people who are on the town board or on the boards and commission that in the township, it's not easy work, and they do it for a reason. And so that's why it's always great to have input and criticism, but try to do it respectfully. You're probably heard better if you just put it out there and in a kind of a non-judgmental fashion. So does anybody have any questions?
This is Scott. I would like to ask questions. So one of the things that I heard with the new zoning ordinance was that the quality of our lakes, to preserve it. Do you have any insight on how the quality of lakes, have they improved, gotten worse over the last decade or so? Do you have any insight on that?
I will say this year, I think it was Sturgeon Lake and Island Lake. I can't remember, I'm not sure about sand. But for example, the Siki disc readings were probably about as good as they've ever been. And we haven't seen any degradation in the water quality. We did see degradation in water quality in Sturgeon Lake with the high water. But Chip can correct me if I'm wrong, but the water quality study on Island Lake showed that, for example, there was some algae issues there, but that is a artifact in the sediment that's just kind of, it was there from quite a while ago, from 80 to 90 years ago, and there was a lot of dairy farming in the area.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Dick Gustafson. I'm a property owner on Island Lake.
Hi, Dick.
The issue that comes up every summer is lake levels. Obviously, we are in a drought season, but I have also heard rumors that some of the creeks that feed Island Lake are somehow blocked and are not feeding water into the lake. And if Island Lake doesn't get water, Sand Lake doesn't get water, et cetera, et cetera. I wonder if you could address that issue and tell me where we're at.
And of course, it's secondhand knowledge, but we had a speaker last month at the Lake Association meeting, and it's a great question, because that's why we want people to come to Lake Association meetings, because we have a speaker every month. And actually, the regional hydrologist came last month and spoke, and he spoke about water levels, and he had a lot of historical data. And first of all, it is incorrect that none of the inlets into Island Lake are blocked. It's just we're in a dry spell, and the way the hydrologist spoke about it is people say, well, we are in a drought this year, but historically we've been in a drought for some time, and it takes a while to catch up. So he said you have to look at rainfall as a budget, and you run further and further behind, and pretty soon you're way behind and the water's low. And I was actually speaking to Byron here before he got started. He lives on Coffee Lake, and so on Sand Lake is very low right now. But Coffee Lake always seems to stay relatively even. And the hydrologist spoke about the fact that Coffee stays the same, even like during high water, because there's a big, he called it a cobble field, that runs from, I think it would be the northwest corner of Sand Lake all the way down to Coffee Lake. So sand will move up and down, but coffee's lower as you go towards the river. And so that remains relatively stable, because if it gets high, it pushes a lot more water out of the outlet. So, and a lot of it happens underground. So you don't even see it. But, you know, we've been in a drought for several years, and that's ultimately why the lake is low.
Sand is as low as I've ever seen it, and I've lived in this township since the early 90s. I live on Lake 11, and ours will drop down to a certain level, but our Lake 11 is also spring fed, and it kind of levels off. We don't, because we're just like Island, it's all just runoff. You got one outlet that dumps into Johnson on the east side or the west side of the freeway, which dumps into the slough that goes to Sand Lake. And when the water was so high on Island, with a plug culvert, we got a permit from the DNR, and they put a little riffle dam in there over by Mike Coughlin's, so that the water doesn't get too high anymore. Kind of like the dam that's at Willow River, just a smaller version of it. Any other question? Oh.
Hello, my name is Sandy Sandoval, and I have a cabin on Passenger Lake. It used to be called Messenger Lake. I've been there for 60 years, and I can tell you that it was about 3 years or 4 years ago when we had that horrendous flooding in the area around here. We sit back with our cabin about 200 feet back on our property line from the lake. We had water all the way up to the door. My wife was walking down the pathway from where we have a dock, and she was shoulder deep in the water all the way up to our house or our cabin. Now, since that time, there have been a couple of times when there have been some heavy flooding. Now, down in Willow River, they had that dam there, and now they've taken the dam out. They've got rocks there, and it looks real nice. Sounds good too. But all I can say is that when we've had the heavy rains, that river backs up into Slough Lake. Slough Lake backs up into Passenger Lake. where we had a nice dock for our grandchildren to go and play and swim in, and had water about 2.5, 3, 4 feet deep right around the dock, is now ankle deep because of all the sand that's been brushed and thrown right in there because of the flooding. Now, I brought this up to the Lake Association a couple of times. I've gone to the DNR, talked with them about it, had a couple of people come out from the DNR. We walked all around the lake, down along the river area, past Slough Lake, and we looked where some of the sand was washed right out of the shoreline. You could just see her undercut because of the force of the water. And it dumped it all right there on our property. So now the kids go out there, and I'm kind of concerned because after they get past the sand, you get into bog. Now, we have had very little contact with anybody with Willow River, with Moose Lake, with the DNR, with the exception of having them come out and look at it to see what could be done. Can we get that sand removed so we can go back to having a place where we can launch our pontoon boat? We've come up here at times and seen the thing grounded. And the kids go out there and play in the lake. And they get their ankles wet. So, gotta have something done, and everybody just keeps to say, well, it's your problem, and looks like it's gonna cost you about 10 grand. Wait a minute. I'm now gonna be 80 years old. And like I said, I've had that property there for 60 years. And I need some help.
Mr. Sandoval, yeah, I know Lori Patrick, who's our membership chair, she's been over there and looked at it. And unfortunately, we don't have funding for helping you out, but if you needed a beach cleanup, I'm sure we could find a few volunteers to come out over and help you out. But I'll put in a plug for the Lakes Association along with the county. There's a program, Carleton County has it too, for those of you who live here in Carleton County, where you can fund lakeshore restoration. I think Carleton County covers up to 75% of lakeshore's restoration, and if more people do it, you end up with less erosion. For example, like with the high water we had on Sturgeon Lake where I am, it used to be a nice hard sandy bottom. Now there's like a film of muck over it. So we have kind of a different problem, but the same thing. So it's erosion. But I'm sorry to hear of your troubles. And like I say, if you need a volunteer group to come over and help you maybe clean up your beach, maybe we could get some people together. But I don't have an excavator, and I can't dig sand out of it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I can tell you another thing that we found since that high water and all the sand that's come in. This last year, went out with a couple of friends of mine to go do a little fishing. We could catch fish like you wouldn't believe off the dock. Now, we caught one fish off the dock, and that was a bass. We thought, oh, wonderful. We got out in the lake, and all the areas that we used to catch crappies and sunnies and northerns, and we caught a couple of hammer handles in the northern lane. No crappies, no sunfish, and some of the people on the lake said, all of those panfish are gone, and we're trying to figure out why, and that's where the Lake Association, we discussed that with them, and they said, they're going to look into it. And I sure do hear a lot of words, and I'm getting hard of hearing. So I want to see action. I want to see the words or hear the words.
All right, we're gonna move on. Is there one last question for the lakes? Now we're gonna have a short
Just me. Just wondering on the pit, can we keep it open? I mean, when do we have it open? My husband is along with the tractor that goes and helps every time, most every time. You know, they close in, what, September or first week in or October? October is when all the leaves come. And, you know, it won't be open in November. Yeah, Bill's not only there for, you know, up until like September or whatever, the end of September.
Well, that's more of a question for the township as far as I think keeping
The
it.
township owns the pit, so
We volunteers.
they just volunteer to help keep it
As
open.
your husband does.
Yes, my husband does. Yes. And
With a nice tractor, a nice Kubota.
All right. We got a couple other topics we want to talk to after Byron's done. But Byron's here, he's the chairman of the Moose Lake Windemere Township Sewer District, so he's going to give a brief talk about the sewers.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Noah. So I was given a list of topics to cover. I'm going to try to keep my presentation to about 10 minutes as best I can. I'll give you just a quick overview. I know a lot of you aren't on the sewer and you live east of the freeway. You say, well, this doesn't have anything to do with you. Actually, bits and pieces do, and we'll find that as we go through this thing. So what we're going to talk about today, or what I'll be doing, is first I'll talk about the sewer board, who's on it, the staff, they meet, where we meet, and where and when. I'll give a little history of the district and a history of some of the lake studies that have been done. I'll talk about some of the current issues, levy, monthly user rates, point of sale inspection, and then finally a little bit about jurisdiction and authority. So it's the Moose Lake Windemere Sanitary Sewer District, which means there's 2 townships that contribute board members. So the board members from Windemere are currently Claire Spradley, Paula Engstrom, she's the vice chair, and Eric Nielsen is our treasurer. And so from Moose Lake Township would be Steve Aldrine and myself as the chair. And one of them is at large, so each of the 2 townships has to approve the at large member. We have a new executive director. Darla Hall was it for about 20 years. Now it's Brian Fritzinger, and he's out of Finlayson. And Keith Newman is no longer the superintendent. It is now Brett Collier. So our meetings are the 3rd Wednesday of the month. We meet in the basement of the downtown dental office, which is right next to the food shelf, if you know where that is, in the city of Moose Lake. Of course, all of our meetings are open to the public. They start at 5:30 on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. If you have an issue and you want to get on the agenda, you don't have to call ahead or do that, but it's helpful if we do know in advance, a few days in advance, so we can get you on the agenda. But if you just show up, we'll get you on the agenda either way. In terms of our coverage area for the sewer district, in Windemere Township, basically Sand Lake is sewered, and then the collection line goes north. We pick up most of Coffee Lake. It goes up the hill to the city of Moose Lake. The district, which when I say the district, I mean the Moose Lake Windemere Sanitary Sewer District, we are only a collection service. We don't do any treatment. So we send our wastewater to the city of Moose Lake, and they treat it. They have the treatment ponds and the discharge permit. As such, we have a contract with them that kind of spells out the arrangement that we have with the city. We have allotment. We're limited as to how much flow we can send to the city, and it's 67,000 gallons per day. The ponds can handle up to 495,000 gallons a day, so we're something like a 15% user, somewhere around there. There's been some questions people have asked me, what's the levy? So we are a levying authority, and if we put out a levy, it goes to everybody in the 2 townships, even if you live several miles away. We have had a levy in the past. In 2021, it was $30,000. In 2022, it dropped to $700. In 2023, and ever since, it's 0. So nobody is paying a levy to the sewer district. If you were to be a part of the, let's say you built a house and you were going to be a part of the sewer district, there is a connection fee of about $6,000. And that basically, in a way, you could think of it as buying a share of the district. And then once that's paid, if you sell the house or whatever, it's been paid off. It doesn't have to be paid again. Our monthly user fee is $60 a month, and we haven't had an increase in that for about 10 years. A few years back, we implemented a point of sale inspection. So one of the things we're getting, well, we're actually at our capacity and sometimes beyond, or actually quite often beyond. And so part of the purpose of a point of sale inspection, if your lateral line that you own, that goes from your house out to the main collection line, has a crack in it, or there's some root intrusion or whatever, we got water leaking in, we want to find out about that, because we don't want to be paying for treatment of clear water that's leaking into the system. So if you're buying a house, it's kind of nice to know, okay, the lateral line is good, and we'll also know that you don't have roof drains or whatever going into the sewer system. A typical cost to get your line televised is something around $300, and then of course if they find problems, it's going to be it's going to be cost of fixing that problem. And the seller and the buyer can arrange however they want that to be spread out. It could be 50-50, or maybe one pays all of it. Let's see. Okay, a little bit of the history of the sewer district. Kind of goes back to 1972 when the Federal Clean Water Act was passed. In 1974, the district was formed under Minnesota laws. But it wasn't until about 1978 to 82 that the sewer district was put in various phases. Let's see. And then, let me go to my next page here. There's been, since the district was created, there's been a number of lake studies for particularly sturgeon and island lakes. The first one that I'm aware of is in 1983, and it was an environmental impact study. And the conclusion, it was a rather lengthy report, but in the end they said that failing septic systems wasn't the main cause of any pollution in the lake. The lakes were pretty good shape, and it wasn't warranted to spend the money on putting in a municipal type collection system. Let's see. There were others. There was also a study done in 1992. The MPCA did one in 2003. Another one that Moose Lake and the sewer district did in 2007. And then the district did another one in 2011. And at that time, let's see, I got it. Well, so 2003, let me jump back to that. The MPCA Lake Water Quality Report, which I have right here. Kind of lengthy. The summary for Island Lake and Sturgeon Lake said, nitrates do not appear to be a problem. However, sewering sturgeon and island lakes would be a very good idea. In 2011, we kind of had an interesting thing where the city of Moose, back in 2011, there seemed to be plenty of space in the ponds and whatever, and the city of Moose Lake offered the district the option to purchase 120,000 gallons per day of additional capacity. That was a lot, and for $400,000. And so we were very much interested. We conducted a feasibility study to look at sewering Island Lake and Sturgeon Lakes. The cost per home was about $23,000 to $26,000. That was back in 2011. But unfortunately, a few months later, the city pulled that offer. I think they realized that wasn't probably a good idea. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the current issues. And my personal philosophy, and I think the philosophy of the board, is that we want to be fair to our customers, but we also want to be fair to the city of Moose Lake because they're our service provider. And then we have a contract between the city of Moose Lake and the sewer district, and we want to honor that contract. You'd think that would be pretty simple, right? The past 2.5 years have been my worst on the board in terms of the amount of work, the headaches, the complicated things. It has not just been, do business as usual. A couple of things that stand out, Sand Lake Resort, the expansion. You guys, the township, had your issues. They wanted to put that resort, expand it initially from 25 units to 75. The DNR restricted them to 40, but that's an additional 15 customers. And Mark Lambert was leaning very heavily on us, give me the capacity, because without the capacity, he can't hook up, he can't build his building. And the clock was running. He had like a 3-year some clock that the DNR was going on. And anyways, we said, we do not have the capacity to give you. And there was a lot of pressure, but ultimately we can't give you what we don't have. And so Mark went to the city and put pressure on them and this and that. And finally the city said, we'll give you some extra capacity, but you can only use it for Sand Lake Resort. We accepted it. We gave it to Sand Lake Resort, and that project is underway. As a sewer district, we did not, our concern is not lake use or this or that. Our only interest is the sewer portion of it. We stayed out of the political other aspects of it. A more recent issue is that the city of Moose Lake has recently implemented a $15 a month fee to every connection that we have in the district. That basically doubled what we pay. So we pay for treatment. It's about $85,000 a year, and this $15 fee was going to double that. And what would we get for it? Wait for it. You got it. Nothing. Nothing. Not a single extra gallon. We have not, they imposed that fee. We disagreed with it. We have not paid it yet. We have gone back and forth. We're trying to get it resolved close, and there's other issues as well, but that's one of the big ones. We're doing our best to try to, again, be fair to the city, be fair to our customers, and get this resolved. We think we're getting closer. You may have heard that there is I'm going to use the word moratorium. I don't know that that's the officially used word, but we cannot connect any other homes to our system because we're at capacity. And so how do we get additional capacity? That's one of the things we're working on. And we have some ideas. There's some homes on the west side of town that belong to the district, and we may be transferring them to the city through a joint powers agreement. And that would give us then enough capacity, we think, to hook up a number of homes. We got like 8 or 9 people on the waiting list right now, and I know that's frustrating. So what happens if you want to build on the sewer line and you can't get capacity? Because unless you have some sort of a sewer permit, you're not going to get a building permit. So the way this process will work is you will come to the district or go online, and there's a form called Application to Connect. And then that starts the ball rolling. At a board meeting, we will look at that, and the board will make a determination. Do we have capacity to let this person connect? Right now, it's a real easy answer. There is no deliberation. The answer is no, we don't. Well, then what? If we don't have capacity, we will give you permission to install an on-site private system. It also gives you actually 2 choices. You can wait and see, because someone came to us recently and said, do you think you'll have capacity by springtime? And we said, we don't know for sure, but we think we will. And so this person's going to put a holding tank in, and then if we get capacity, you'll pull the holding tank out and just connect to our line. So you can either wait to see if sewer comes available or go ahead and install your on-site system. The one caveat is the district reserves the right to make you connect at some point after sewer capacity comes available. And I know nobody's going to want to put in a $25,000, septic system only to find out 3 years later you got to connect. Again, we're going to try to be fair to our customers and try to do something that seems reasonable. Getting too close to the end here. Jurisdiction. There's been some questions. So we are, the sewer district is the authority in Windemere and Moose Lake townships. However, when we have unsewered areas, typically the township or the county picks up the inspection duties for the on-site system. The township can turn it over to the county, the township can keep it for themselves, or the township can contract with some private service to do it. So it's up to whatever the township decides to do. There's been some talk that there might be some sewering going on the east side of the lake. Maybe. That seems like a really long shot for me, and I know there's a company, whatever, is it Rum River? I don't know which one it is, some engineering firm that's trying to find some money and whatnot. But that's not gonna happen anytime real soon. It's gonna take a while, even if the money were there, you know, to plan it all out and then try to find a place, where do we discharge this water to and so on. But, you know, maybe someday, hopefully. Initially, that was the idea, to plan that to sewer the east side of the freeway, you know, Sturgeon Lake, Island Lake, some of the other areas. But we are at capacity with Moose Lake right now, so there's no way, unless there's some major change, like a mechanical plant or something, that would ever come to the city of Moose Lake. So that's my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll take them now, or if everybody wants to see me afterwards, I'll be happy to answer them afterwards as well.
Where does Moose Lake stand in terms of their capacity? Are they at capacity as well?
Moose, you know, I can't speak for Moose Lake, but what they've said is they are retaining some extra capacity for their own growth within the city. I think there's a 4-phase deal where they're adding more homes and trying to get more property taxes. You've probably seen the home built near the Quick Trip. That would be part of it. And I think there's some other areas there. So they're retaining some capacity for their own internal uses, and they have the right to do that. Oh, right here.
2 questions. Are we going to have to pay this fee to have our sewers inspected if we sell our property?
Are you on the
We're on the sewer.
You're on the sewer line?
Yeah.
At the point of sale, you would have to hire somebody to do a lateral line inspection,
Even if we
yes.
just had the sewer just done 2 years ago?
No, it's, I think 3 years or 5 years, I kind of forget. If it's been done in the, I'll just say the recent past, I'd have to review that. I see Eric holding up 5 fingers, I thought it was 3, 5, something like that. Or if you just built a house, it's good for 10 years.
The second question is, did Mark Lambert buy us 15 sewers by paying to line the sewers for infiltration in Moose Lake?
If I understand the question right, did Mark Lambert pay the city of Moose Lake to do some slip lining of their sewers or whatever? I know there was like an offer of that. To the best of my knowledge, the best answer I can say is I don't know. I don't think he did, but I can't say for sure. I think, you know, Mark Lambert's not someone to really mess with. He's an attorney, he's a big-time developer, he's got money, and I think nobody wanted a lawsuit. He wasn't asking for that much more. I think the city gave it to us with the stipulation that it only go to him, and that's what we did.
We heard he paid a couple of streets to be done in line, but
You know, there's rumors out there, and maybe some are true, maybe some are not. I do not know. You can take it up with the city. Or Mark.
I'll ask Mark.
Yeah.
Mike Green?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, there you go.
I have a question about the condition of the sewer system. I've heard when it rains heavily, the meters go wild at Moose Lake. There's so much leakage in the system. Is that, what is the truth about that?
Every sewer system has I&I, inflow and infiltration, clear water that leaks in. Moose Lake is a much older system than ours, and I know that I think they just got like $1.5 million grant to slip line their pipes that have a lot of leakage into them. My guess, you know, they've got probably some clay lines and things, lateral lines that, you know, aren't as good as our system, which was built in the between 78 and 82. So they're, you know, I don't want to speak for the city of Moose Lake, but I know they are actively reducing.
I'm not asking about the city of Moose
Oh,
Lake.
you're asking about our system.
Our system. I've heard when it's heavy rain, the meter, our sewage is metered going into their system. You know how many
Yes.
gallons it is. Now, I've
Okay.
heard that it goes way up. So if that is true, what is the condition of our sewer system out here in Windemere Township?
Okay.
There's gonna be a lot of work and relining done here, or what is the
Okay.
condition?
Okay. There is some truth to what you're saying. When there's a heavy rainfall, for a couple days during the spring when the snowmelt takes place, there is water that leaks into the system. We are actively always trying to identify and correct that. So how do we do that? We will televise portions of the line and then review those televised, and then we will find the areas that seem that are the worst condition, and then we will do slip lining or whatever other repairs that need to be done.
So you're saying there's not a real...
I'm saying the water level, the way water flows do go up after a heavy rain and after snowmelt, for sure. And that, I think that would be true for most systems. I think our I&I is probably less than most, but is still something that's a problem that we are working on and always trying to identify and correct. Every year we're doing that.
So that cost that they want to put on Windemere Township has got nothing to do with the amount of extra sewage that comes with heavy rain.
Correct. So we pay the city per 1,000-gallon unit.
Right.
And then if we go over allotted amounts, like we do in those heavy rain or a snow melt, we pay overage, we pay extra. So that is what, I'll give you my opinion. I don't think the city's been charging their customers enough. They're trying to find revenue if they can get it from outside the city. But anyways, they've imposed this fee. Our stipulation has been, we will pay the $15 fee. One of our conditions is, but that money can only be used to repair the portions of the city that our wastewater goes through. So for example, there's a lift station out by the campground. Our water doesn't come anywhere close to that. If they want to fix that campground lift station, they can't use district money to do that. We have gotten pushback on that. They said they can use it anywhere they want, and we're like, no. Our contract says you can't, and we're holding to our contract.
How much do we go over? You're allowed so many gallons, right?
We're allowed 67,000 gallons a day.
How much over every year do we go over that?
I don't have that number at the top of my head.
You got any estimation? I hear it's a lot.
No, I do not know. I've got that
A
number.
little bit, or it's not kind of a little bit, or no estimation whatsoever.
If you're looking for a number, I can't give it to you. I'm going to say it's, I think, less than what most systems like ours, because our system is relatively new, less than 50 years old. And we have, plastic lines or PVC lines, not clay lines and that sort of thing. We're inspecting our manholes, our manhole covers. We're televising, we're cleaning, we're actively trying to eliminate. Yeah, I do have that information at home.
Can you
amounts.
maybe talk to him after?
I'd be happy to.
Is there anybody else that has any questions for Byron? I know it's warm in here, but there's a couple other topics you want to talk to. Can you log in there? There's a hot button right now with, I was part of the Town Hall Steering Committee with a couple other people. I was able to pull up, they hired an engineering firm to design plans for a new town hall. So I wanted to talk about that a little.
Talk first.
Oh, who does? Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Just a quick question. So, how long has the Windemere Sewer Association, how long have you guys been at capacity?
2.5 years.
But you've had to ask Moose Lake for permission to get capacity every time somebody has wanted an additional hookup, correct?
No. We've asked for, in the past, the rules have been ones and twos. We just notify the city, hey, we got another house cooked up here, or this person, we got another one over here, one in the spring, one in the fall. If it's ones and twos, we just inform them. But at some point, the city said, you're at capacity beyond, and we don't, You can't hook up any more new
So
ones.
you've been approaching that for a while, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so it wasn't just Sand Lake Resort that pushed it over the edge, it had been going on for a while.
Oh, absolutely, yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes. Question?
Is there a point because of the cost of having to pay Moose Lake to treat, that there would make sense for the district, the Windemere portion, to treat their own?
Good question, and we have looked into that. We doubt the MPCA, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, would allow another set of ponds. The other thing is really hard to find an operator, meaning so Brett Collier is our superintendent, qualified. I mean, we'd have to build ponds, find the land for that. We'd have to get a discharge permit and someone with a proper licensure to monitor the discharge. The short answer is we've looked into it. It doesn't seem feasible.
So it still costs more or is more work than the $15 per connection extra fee that they're.
Correct, correct.
So they pretty much have a monopoly at this point on treatment.
In a sense, we're trying to make it where, you know, we'll pay the $15 fee as long as we know that the money's used on the portion of the city, the portion of the system that our water flows through. That's the, you know, we're still waiting on that
But it wouldn't
agreement.
increase capacity though, would it?
It would not, but the slip lining that the city is doing would help with that. Any of the I&I reduction that we're doing helps with that. The city has recently implemented where they put bugs into the ponds and that eats up some of the stuff on the bottom. I'm not particularly knowledgeable about it, but that adds capacity.
All right, we're going to move on to the town hall here, so. Oh, what?
I'm going to revisit the variance thing just real quickly.
Okay.
Any statistics on the website on how many variants were applied for and how many were accepted and what's the average cost?
No, no statistics on the website.
No stats.
No.
Does anybody know how many were?
The Board of Adjustments would, because they're the ones that revisit every variance.
Can you give me a guess?
Well, in the last few weeks, there was half a dozen maybe variance hearings. Dan, do you know how many? No? There's nobody from the Planning Commission here to ask either, sorry. So, but you can contact the people on the website, the Board of Adjustments, and send them an email and ask that very question. All right, under the town hall, so Minnesota State Statute 365.10, building a town building. So the board and the planning commission, or the planning commission through the board, sent out and had an architecture draft some design plans of what their wish list is worth. And so these are concept drawings of what they would like for the town hall. Yeah, and then why don't you go through the pictures. So our current property where the town hall used to be would not support a structure this size. If you go back to the first slide on this, I think the square footage is on there. You might have to blow it up. But it had like 160 seat capacity. It had a kitchen. It had, go back. Go to the first slide. So that's the floor plan that this architecture came up with, where I'm going to stand back here so you can see up at the top where the board would sit. There's 160 chairs. They got coats, conference room, receptionist office, outdoor storage, mechanical room, a couple more bathrooms, a couple more offices and storage. So this is kind of their wish list. So like I said, I was on the steering committee, and there was a board member on there and a couple people from the planning commission. The first place they brought us to look at was the Barnum Community Center, which is beautiful. And I said, well, yeah, this would be great, but we don't have a municipal liquor store attached to it to fund it. So the steering committee got dissolved, and then they spent some money to come up with this concept. And so the electors get to decide not the board. We get to decide what they're gonna build and how much they can spend on it. So usually when you vote on a new town hall, it happens at the annual meeting. They can, however, call a special town meeting, and it runs like a town meeting. And the sole purpose would be what's on the agenda, so they could call a special town meeting to vote on a town hall. So, for them to build a new building, and I'm just picking my brain here, what I remember, it's you have to have plus one vote over 50% for them to build on the same property we were at before. A town hall this side would need more property. For them to move the location of the town hall, you need plus one over 60% of the vote. So if there was 100 people voting, they need 61 people to say yes. And then they would have to say, yes, you can bond it. But if we say, yes, you can bond it, then it's up to the board to decide how much they're gonna spend on it. I think we can set a limit on it. It's on the statute here, so we just wanted to bring this up because, yeah, you can scroll through it again. And, because there could possibly be a special town meeting called to vote on this, or I know people were discussing it with the planning commission at the planning commission meetings. This just came up recently in the last month, 2 weeks. So the timing of this meeting was almost perfect so that we actually had this information. So that's why I know it's hot in here, but I wanted to get people's opinion on this because this thing is like a Taj Mahal, you know, where's it, and what property they would have to purchase, you know. And the township can purchase property without us voting on it. But for them to put that building on it, we'd have to vote on it. So I just was wondering if people had, I see people are raising their hands, so hang on 1 second, okay.
You're gonna have city sewer on it.
His question was, is gonna have city sewer on it. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to know how much advance notice are they going to have of that meeting that the people...
There's, by statute, they have to list it, and it's got to be listed for, I don't know the days off my top of my head, but it has to, we used to post in both the green paper, like we posted for this meeting, and the Star Gazette, which is our legal paper, because it has to be with a notification on there. But they stopped posting in the green paper, which everybody gets for free. So I know I would spread the word if I hear about a meeting to let as many people, I'd say watch the Facebook sites, maybe the Island Lake one, the Citizens Sturgeon Lake, Windemere Township one, Windemere Township Roads are the 4 that we posted on now, just so that you're aware of this. And we...
So does the landowners get to vote on regarding the...
Unfortunately, the seasonal people, unless you are registered to vote in this township, you will not get a vote. It'd be like at the annual meeting with voting on the levy. You have to be registered to vote because you can only be registered in one voting district. But like I said before, I know people that have, you can go to the Secretary website and register to vote in a new district, and you can vote on that election.
So does that election, I mean, you have to be present?
It'll be run like a...
It's not a write-in, it's not...
No, it'll be run like an annual meeting, and it'll be it's like the annual meeting. It's the people's meeting. The board can call it, or it can be done by a petition, or the board and the clerk and like 12 property owners can sign a petition, and the board can call it, but it can't be called, and it has to be posted for so long, I think 10 days maybe. Yeah, so it happens quick. Oh, hang on, Ernie. Oh, so the dollar amount on that, and somebody can correct me if they're wrong, because I just finally got this power or this thing. I heard it was just the building alone was 1.57 million. And that's not buying any property. And when we were on the steering committee, they were talking about putting in a paved parking lot. So it could be very expensive.
How much money have they spent already on this plan for their Taj Mahal? Anybody got any idea on how much has been already spent?
Well, you can look at the claims that are every month, and it'll be some architecture firm that they paid. I don't know what they spent on this, because I don't even know. I have to go to the website and look at the claim. So who knows? Oh, hang on. Huh?
So,
Yeah, there's already money invested in this. This was paid for.
so on the current site, this would be too big on the current?
Yeah, this would not, yeah.
Okay, so in addition to them having the draftsman draft this up, and you have to buy the property, put the mound system in, so there's additional costs to the estimate you just said. Has there been any estimated work to just maybe just a redesign of the pole barn we have there, that we vote in, that we have our elections in? There's a bathroom, there's a kitchenette, who's ever renting to put their equipment in? I mean, is there been any cost looking into how to renovate that instead of doing this?
I don't,
Yes, this is gorgeous, but really.
I'm not aware of any.
I mean, this space here, how much it is to rent the church space to have?
So when we have our annual meeting here, it's $100.
Okay, great. Look at that cost effective versus this.
And here's the other caveat. So when you are an organized township, the statute I quoted here, we are required to have a town hall. We can temporarily move meetings for a short time, like if you're doing a renovation or something, but we have to build the town hall. So in my opinion, we need to plan on this. We need to take part of our levy, stick it away in capital improvement, and let's squirrel it away for a while so that it's not, we don't have to bond the whole thing.
But we have a building on site.
We do have a building on site, and that is an option. So, once again, this is a listening meeting, hoping the people that are,
A
the
lot
new
more
people.
cost effective to renovate a pole barn. Spruce up a little bit, whatever you need to do, then build this thing. Again, you gotta buy the land, the mound system, power, yeah.
Okay, Jude had her hand up next, and then, sorry, I'll get to you. Jude.
That's okay, Jude.
I just want to say that I've been going to the township meetings for years. I have brought that up many times about, let's just insulate that building, put up a couple walls. We don't need anything fancy to meet once or twice a month and to have elections once or twice a year. The board chair has told me that it would cost almost as much to renovate that as to look it up. And, you know, you can hear that he's said it a couple of times, and I know that they're just not really listening to me when I go there. It would be nice if more people would come to the meetings and speak up, because I have said that about the garage for a long time.
Okay, Wendy.
I just want to say, or ask, could we have just a quick vote in here about not doing that?
Okay, so this is like a straw poll.
Yeah.
Okay, I did it at the annual meeting. I just to get a flavor. Who would be for this? Raise your hand.
Holy cow.
Who would be for renovating the shop? A majority. Who would be for something in the middle? Maybe a smaller, like, I was an election judge forever, and that old building where people had to go up the stairs, it was hard. It was hard to run an election in there. And something with an even floor, it had bathrooms right in there, handicap accessible. And I think right now the square footage for a commercial building is over $350 a square foot. But if you had something that could sit 30, 40 people for one monthly meeting or two, and then rent this for meetings like this, that's what I would be for. But I'm not against renovating our shop either, with a caveat, because I might mention something later.
I agree. There's no reason why you couldn't even take one of the walls down and make it a little bit bigger and put a regular inside bathroom, put some insulation, put some heat if we needed heat. what the hell is that gonna cost compared to $2 million?
Yeah, it's gonna be over 2 million by the time we're done with it, you know, to purchase the land. I mean, just purchase the land and the building, and then you gotta put in a $25,000, $30,000 sewer. So, since we call this straw poll, I just wanna ask a question, I mean, to get the flavor. I mean, has this meeting been helpful that you have a place, a forum to vote or just voice and stuff like that? Because like I said, the new board coming in, I've heard talk that maybe they would have like a quarterly listening meeting or something like that. And this is kind of a trial run for that, so that people, whether you can vote in here or you just pay taxes in here, you can have a place to have a voice. So would people be for this in the future? Okay. So I saw Noah had, or go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I think that people don't realize either, you've got the initial cost. Think about the utilities, you're paying for this thing year-round, with how much is utilization? I don't want to answer this, making comments. What's the utilization? Where is this revenue going to come in? Or is it going to be a total suck on everything? You know, it just makes no sense to have this huge building. How many people will utilize it? I mean, I've heard talk of the library. I mean, it's like, we have a beautiful public library in Moose Lake. It's, well, yeah, who's gonna, you know, I understand rentals, but you're not gonna be able to cover costs year-round. So it could be another drain on all the resources that we'll pay.
So me being on the steering committee, I'll voice my opinion. I said, this is way overkill. I said, what are you gonna do? And they said, well, we'll hold dances there, we can have family functions. So, you know, I said, you're taking away business from businesses that pay taxes in our township too. So, I mean, how often would this thing get used? Noah?
Twice a year.
We could put a tent on like 8 bridges for that.
I was just doing some math with the internet, and it's saying that even at 1.5 million, this would be like $130,000 a year in debt service for 20 years. So
Yeah, because
what percent of that is, what's the total levy right now?
the total levy right now for this calendar year is 400,000. Next year it's 500,000, and I'm assuming we're gonna have to go up because the coffers are pretty empty. But we get to vote on that. But what's the like you said 106,000 operating budget?
130,000 just the debt service, not including the operating cost.
Oh my God.
So you're talking about a 30%
Levy increase, just to, yeah.
to have a building that you can get for $100.
Well, we pretty much got the flavor of the room here, so.
I think the most important thing, without a doubt, that we can take away from this discussion is for everybody to hear, watch the publications, watch the Facebook pages, and if there's a meeting posted, you better call every one of your neighbors and let them know, because this thing could get shoved down our throats without us even hardly knowing it. So you gotta pay attention the next 5 months, otherwise we could be screwed.
Any other comments? Well, now that we got you all riled up. So the other comment was about our road maintenance model. So forever and ever, Windemere had a in-house maintenance model that was unpopular. We had union employees, and now we are on this contractor model where we contract. And I see some of the contractors here, and I'm not saying anything bad about the contractors, they do good work, but I hear when I'm out talking to the public that there's not an equity in service. And I can speak personally for my road, my neighbors here. I texted and called, and we got our road graded once in 9 months. So I'm like, well, we got a business right down the road from me, the meat shop, and they got lots of truck traffic, and it just turns to crap right away. And then you got to beg to get them to come out and grade the road. So this is my personal opinion, just my opinion, because I was the clerk before, and I did a lot of crunching on the numbers, that I would be in favor of like a hybrid model. Maybe we purchase a road grader to start with, and we grade our roads and do half our snow plowing. And then, or we stay with all the vendor model, and they do everything. So I just want to throw that out there so people once again, it's a listening meeting. What is the flavor of the people that are here at this meeting? Are they in favor of the current model we have, which is the vendor model? Are you in favor of a hybrid model that you use some employees in that? Or are you in favor of all employee model, which I don't think we can do. So that's just something you can mill around. You know, if you don't want to make a comment, you don't have to make a comment, but I'm not trying to influence anybody. I just want to give my opinion.
This will be real quick. I was just hoping the new board coming on board in January, that they hire somebody to do an audit and determine which was cheaper for the township, the contractor model or having a maintenance department. And then think, okay, if the contractor model was cheaper or cost a little more, which one did we get the better service from? Because the whole bottom line here isn't just cost, it's public safety. And I'm willing to pay for public safety.
Check out the debt service on the railroads.
Oh, I know.
Any other comments on this? Look in the back.
I just want to say, it's like, okay, we had all that equipment. It got sold. I don't know how much, I'm not going to expect a number, but there was equipment that was sold. Where did that money go? And, you know, it's just going good money after bad.
It went into the general fund as far as I know.
And
Got spent.
that is gone.
Well, it's been spent, yeah. So I spoke before about, I was the clerk when they were discussing this, and the former treasurer did an analysis for the board, current board back then, and the cost of our union employee model was, it was under $90 an hour. And currently right now, looking at the claims that come in, you can look them up online, you can see what the cost is, and it's about $200, $225. So you do the math.
So I just have kind of a quick question. With the old town hall being in Windemere Township, and right now we are renting in Moose Lake, and when we do have these meetings here, it is in Moose Lake, which is in...
Moose Lake Town, or City Moose Lake.
Is that still Pine County?
No, that's Carlton County.
Okay, so is there any language that says that we should be building this township hall in Pine County versus...
Oh, it'll be in our township, and the statute I quoted, this 365.10, you have to build in your township, in your borders, but like for the annual meeting, like we have it here, you have to hold it within 5 miles, which this place is and has the capacity. That's why we hold our annual meetings here, because a lot of times we'll have this many people in a given meeting. They would never fit in a smaller town hall, or even probably in the shop.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yep.
I think somebody has to address the size of this place. We are talking just under 7,000 square feet. That's a large building. Currently today, we are doing a addition onto a commercial warehouse, and the going rate right now is $290 a square foot for just a regular run-of-the-mill warehouse. If you are talking something that is of quality, you are talking $400 plus a square foot. Do the math.
So the steering committee was put together so we could go out in the community and talk to people and say, hey, what do you want? And then we would bring it back to Al and the other people from the township that are on the board. And a lot of times they didn't like what we said. I said, well, we're just being the devil's advocate here. I said, what are we going to use a place like this? How are we going to fund it? How are you going to insure it? You know, you're going to have an employee there all the time? You got 3 offices in there. So that's why we're having this meeting tonight, so you guys can voice your opinion, because in the bottom line is we get to vote on a new building.
I think what might be helpful, in the interest of what the gentleman talked about, talking to your neighbors. If somebody could put together some projected numbers as to, bottom line, what will this do to your property taxes? and crunch those numbers and publish them on the Facebook pages and so on. Here's the range, here's what this looks like, and this is the effect that it'll have on you.
You have a wireless? We got one.
I just wanted to ask, as far as the election part, couldn't we vote in a room like this also?
The board would have to change the polling place. And right now, our designated polling place is set by the board like in January. And we set it at the old township site because the last few elections we held inside the garage. And we could make do with it. Is it the best? No. But it was big enough and it handled our election. We are a township, and I know this because I was the clerk. We have almost 1,300 or 1,400 registered voters in this township. We get, I think the last time we were pushing 1,100 voters. We get a very good turnout. So we have a good public voting record in this township.
But we couldn't rent this space for that?
No, they would have to change the polling place or change it to double, 2 polling places. You have to hold it at your, whatever the board designates as your polling place.
But isn't that, can't you change that every year?
I don't know, but I think you'd want to vote inside your town. As an election judge, you'd want to vote inside your borders.
Yeah, I just don't want to pay $2 million to do it.
No, I mean, there's, like we were talking, there's other options out there. This is pie in the sky. Shoot for the stars, and then if you get happy with the moon, So, but that's the big thing. We get to vote on it. And we get to vote how much they spend on it. Well, I don't know if we get to set the bond. We get to tell them if they can finance it or not. And the thing is, with a township and a bonds, it goes through the entire life of the bond. It takes you the entire 20 years to pay it off. You can't pay it off ahead of time. You got extra money. So, any other comments? Right around 200,000 right now. Yeah, we just got our first half of this year's taxes in June. We'll get the second half in December. And then there's some other tax thing we get. Okay.
It's on.
I just wonder how many of you people give food to the food shop? How many of you people know how many people are unhoused in Moose Lake? We're putting all that money into a building and we still have people that go to bed hungry every single night. Children that are walking the street have no place to go. Let's think about how important it is that people are more important than buildings.
So once again, I'm telling you, we get to vote on this. So when this comes up, and it will have to come up because we need to build a new town hall, you need to come and use your power of the pen. Vote. Vote, vote, vote.
If they call such a meeting, is there a quorum required for them to conduct that meeting?
The statute says there's 3 ways to call it. So a special, it's called a special town meeting. It's kind of like an annual meeting. It's the people's meeting. The board can just, and the entire board votes on it and agrees along with the clerk treasurer. Or the 2 board members and the clerk and 12 property owners can do it, or else we could do it via petition.
That's to call it. I'm saying once they have it, if 500 people are not there, then you reschedule it. No,
it's going to be who's ever there. You get checked at the door that you're registered to vote in this township and you get to vote yea or nay.
I'm on an HOA board in the cities, and there's a quorum required to vote on things like this, and particularly governing things. I know, but it should be that there's certain minimum number of people should be there, or they have to re-announce it and have it again.
What she's saying is that there needs to be a quorum of the total number of registered voters in the township.
Or at
And I don't believe there has to be. I think it's dictated by township, the statutes.
There should be, because my fear is that they're gonna have that meeting and nobody's gonna go.
I have the same fears.
And because we don't know about it, or we're out of town, or even, I mean, I am homesteaded here, even though I have another location. So I vote here, but I don't live here year round. So I might not be here when they call that meeting, so.
Well, I'm just gonna tell you right now that when I hear about that meeting, if I have to go door to door, I'm going door to door. And I'm asking everybody else to do that so that people know. And I know I'm supposed to be impartial, but for this, I'm gonna go door to door.
So I want to go off of what she was saying, because I've noticed, and I'm sure everyone else here has, with their special meetings, it sure seems like they always seem to do the least amount of warning or heads up for it, and then always seems to be on like 9 o'clock and, you know, on Monday or a Tuesday, or whenever it's at work, you can't even make it there. And they try sneaking this by, and I don't, you know, so it's like, the time amount of work that I have missed for these special meetings is it's unreal. But I mean, it's important, you gotta miss it and be there, but, so, I reiterate, I almost think that there should be a certain levy of people that need to be there at that meeting to make that type of vote, you know, before they can just pass it and get it by us.
I don't disagree, but I don't get to set the meetings, and I can't make it to the meetings. No, that's a good opinion. And there's a lot of people that have said that opinion to me.
Scott, that's all set by state statute. So
What?
the township, that is set by state statute. Township has little or no choice other than following the statute on some of the other things.
I didn't hear that.
Followed by state statute.
We'll bring a mic to you, Jim.
I was just going to say, everyone here today, can't we give you our emails or our phones and do a mass text and email message?
If you want to leave your name, write it on the way out. I'd be glad to take them. And, sorry.
As far as notification of if there's a special meeting, I would encourage everybody, if you haven't done it already, is sign up to the alert system that Windemere Township does. You get both a text and an email if you want it. And so that goes out. And so sign up, and then you get like zoning commission meetings, township board meetings, and then show up.
I did forget to mention that. So there is an option. You go to the township website, you subscribe. If you want a text and an email, you give them both. And I get them on my phone, and it buzzes. And I know when stuff gets posted. And to answer your question or whatever, they do post by statute. They have to.
I know.
Yeah, so, but.
They'll post it on a Friday for a Monday morning meeting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just seems pretty shady.
A couple more questions, and we're going to call it a night because we don't want to do too long. So, okay, Jim, or who is going to talk?
There was several questions about quorums. Voting is set by state statute. Again, the Secretary of State would have to be the one you approach. Homeowners associations.
They're not part of that.
They're not part of that.
No. So that answers your question. It would be a question of the Secretary of State. But how the votes are conducted at the annual meeting, it's all regulated by statute. And if you go to the Minnesota Association of Townships, they got a town law book that you can look through. It's 80-some pages, but you can go under elections or annual meeting. It gives you the specifications and spells it out very clearly.
So does it also specify how you recall board members? You can.
Yeah. You can get a hold of board members on our township website. One more question, and then we're going to call it a night.
I just wanted to make sure when you get those alerts, watch your junk email.
Yep.
Because the email comes through in junk. But the alert on your phone, will come through as a message. But watch your emails for the junk.
Well, once again, I'm very grateful everybody came here tonight and voiced their opinion. And there's a lot of good ideas out there and a lot of good very respectful discussion, and that's very appreciated. And thank you all for coming.